Hey, we have a problem. And the problem is making more money is not making you more happy. And we need to stop that. It's just not right. You know, as humans, there's a couple basic needs that we all have. Food, shelter, Lululemon yoga pants. I mean, those are things that we need, true? And those bring temporary satisfaction. Then we move on to thinking perhaps a bulging bank account may be what's next. That will bring fulfillment. And then we do it and it doesn't happen. You see, until we connect meaning to our money, fulfillment will be very elusive. So what I want to do today is I want to share with you some ways of how together we can solve that problem. Because as I look in this room and I look out into these chairs and I see hardworking advisors, the fact that you don't have the meaning in your life that you want, I can't allow that to happen. Because your clients deserve the best version of you. Would we agree with that? So recently, I was at a really fancy restaurant. It was so fancy that they seated us in the wine cellar, which was really, really cool. So the woman came around and introduced herself as the wine sommelier. And what I learned is that the job of the wine sommelier, which is a really cool job, by the way, is to make sure every bottle of wine tastes great when people buy it. And what she told us was interesting. She said what she does is periodically, she gives every bottle just a quarter twist to make sure the sediment in the wine bottle doesn't change too much and it doesn't affect the taste of the wine, okay? So today, I want you to think of me as sort of your speaker sommelier. I am not here to change your life. I am not here to change your business plan. I just want to give you a quarter twist. And I want to give you a few simple steps that can have big results. Recently, there was a car commercial, and researchers wanted to know how would people respond to two different versions of the car commercial. So group number one was shown a commercial, and they were shown the features and the benefits of how this car compared to its competitors. And the researchers measured how their brain responded to that ad. Group number two was shown an ad by the same car company, but in this commercial they talked about how with each purchase of a car, a portion went to support first-time Olympic athletes' goal to support America. And they measured people's brain activity toward that. Well, as you can imagine, group number one, not much brain activity on the ad. Typical ad, it was just a typical car ad, right? But over here, something startled the researchers. The emotion that was registered in the brain by the people that saw the ad supporting the Olympic athletes was similar to, get this, as though they were looking into the eyes of someone they loved. As though they were looking into the eyes of someone they loved. They didn't know the car commercial. They didn't know much about this, but just the emotions that seeing generosity in action caused them to have an emotional, positive response. And you may be wondering, yes, it dramatically increased sales for the car company as well. What I want to do today, we've got about 20 minutes. I want to do three things to help us solve the problem of why making more money isn't making you happier. Number one, start small. Number two, listen to the call. And number three, more money is not bad, it's better for all. Now, by the way, thank you, ChatGPT, for helping me rhyme my 3 points so that they're more memorable for all of you. Okay, all right. So step number one, start small. I want to tell you a story. Excuse me. I was 26 when I became a financial advisor, but I had a big problem. I looked like I was 13. Not one gray hair, not one wrinkle on this baby face, and I wondered who would work with a young kid like me. And I didn't come from the gene pool of the country club membership in the family, well-connected. I had to make my own way. By the way, out of curiosity, who else in this audience didn't come from means. You had to make your own way in this business. This is for all of you because you know how hard you had to work to get here, and I applaud all of you for that. But I had a passion. My passion was I loved investing in the lives of young people. And I realized when I was a senior in high school, nobody ever came back and gave us a sense of what the real world could be like for a high school student. Sure, we studied math and science and reading, all the classes, but it would have been nice to have a successful businessman or a woman come back and say, here's what the real world can look like for you. And I said to myself, that's just not right. So I had an idea. The idea was I went back to my principal at my alma mater high school, and I said, I want to award a student of the month and a teacher of the month. Well, the principal quickly said yes because they're low on resources and also low on the ability to give recognition. So I come to the school with 2 certificates, teacher of the month, student of the month, a $25 Amazon gift card for the student, and a $50 Amazon gift card for the teacher. And I will tell you, this $75 changed my life. So I go the first month, and it was so great to look into the student's eyes and say, I don't want you to know, you may be taking classes you don't even care about, but because you were recognized for this, you have the leadership potential, you're going to do big things. And to look eyeball to eyeball with a student and make an impact, that was powerful. And then to say to the teacher, you know, there's some good teachers and there's some great teachers. And I would bet that one day in the future, at Christmas or Thanksgiving, when everybody's around the table talking about their favorite memories, your name is probably going to come up at that table. And the teacher's eyes got as big as saucers because suddenly somebody was helping them be seen and valued. Well, I did this because it made me feel good. I loved going and recognizing a student and a teacher. Well, what happened next leads me to step number 2, and that is listen to the call. So back in the day, we had this cutting-edge technology called newspapers. It was kind of this papery substance. It's kind of extinct right now. But I would send the pictures of the principal and the teacher and the student and myself to the newspaper in the community section. And they loved it because it was recognizing students and teachers. Well, what began to happen next, I would have never seen coming. I began to get phone calls in my office. And one call specific stood out to me. And it was that call that built a multi-million-dollar financial advisory business. Now, what I said, I would not advise you to say. The woman said, Derek, my husband and I want you to be our financial advisor. And I said to her, I'm 26, why do you want to work with me? So, if you take nothing else away from this session, don't say that. But what she did say changed everything about how I ran my business going forward. She said, Derek, we know you're young, we know you're new, we even know that you're 26, we did our research. But we want to work with you because you care about what we care about. She said, you care about what we care about. And it was in that moment the light bulb went off. You see, she didn't care if I was the smartest or the most well-connected socially, or even if I was the best looking, which is still debatable. All she cared about was I cared about what they cared about. And it was that simple principle that took a 26-year-old to build a multi-million-dollar business. The whole point of that is when people know that you care and they feel understood and seen, it puts a moat around your business. Now, I want to fast forward a couple years. I want to tell you about a client named Dave. Now, you know those relationships you have that just the body language of a friend or family member or a client, you can tell something's bothering them without them saying a word? Can we read clients like that? Yeah. So Dave comes in the office and he is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's slumped down, he looks 10 years older. And I said, Dave, what's wrong? Well, he begins to unload on me and tells me a story. And he says, Derek, I am not feeling motivated to work in my business anymore. He was a successful, respected businessman. His family worked in the business, highly regarded. But he said, Derek, I am simply going through the motions. I am not all in on my business. And for whatever reason, in that moment I said to him, Dave, is there a cause that you care about? Well, the question stunned him. He sat back in his chair, his eyes got big, and he began to tell me a story about years ago when he and his family went on a trip overseas. They went to this one particular village on an excursion. And he remembered the guide telling them, if we'd only have a schoolhouse in this village, it would transform this entire region economically. But the lack of a schoolhouse is holding back this entire group of people. And he remembered exchanging a glance with his wife as if to say, wouldn't it be cool to fund that school? Now, my conversation and question brought this all back, and I said, Dave, what if you did this? What if you set a goal that over the next 12 months, you increased your sales by 20%, and you took half of that increase and used it to fund that school? A smile began to come on his face. And we began to talk about how we could do that. And we brainstormed some ideas and sent him on his way. Well, we were scheduled to meet again 3 months later. He scheduled a meeting extra, actually 2 months later. He comes in the office. He looks younger. He looks invigorated. He looks like he's back on his game again. I said, Dave, it's night and day how you look. He said, Derek, actually, I was a little bit skeptical about what you said, but I said, what the heck? Here's what he did. He put a tab on his website that he called Generosity Purpose, and that was the name that I gave him. And he mocked up a picture of the school so the people could go there and see, here's what we're supporting. And he sent an email to all of his clients and said, just so you know, you can work with any consultant in town, but when you work with our firm, you're part of something bigger. And part of what you generate for us is going to help make this school, for these needy people, a reality. Well, what happened was he saw an increase in sales, but what was motivating was his team. His team was also pretty lethargic, feeling like they were just going through the motions, just working a job. His team got remotivated, but most importantly, it was Dave. Dave completely was transformed because now he wasn't just going to an office just to earn a paycheck and fill up his bank account. He was combining money and meaning. So as a financial advisor right now, how can you put this into practice? Which leads me to step number 3. More money is not bad, and it's better for all. So because I love these points, let's just recap one more time because I love the rhyme. Number 1, start small. Number 2, listen to the call. And number 3, more money is not bad, it's better for all. Now, let's be honest for a moment. In culture today, there can sometimes be a vibe that says, if you like to make money, you are bad. Has anybody heard this? Yeah. And believe it or not, that can be a very, very self-limiting money belief that can hold you back as advisors and can hold your clients back from achieving the success that they want. Now, what I want to do is address that and ask you a philosophical question. When we think about money, if we think about good people in the world and we think about bad people in the world, who do we want to have the money? Do we want the good people in the world to have the money, or do we want the bad people in the world to have the money? Little audience participation here. Who says the good people should have the money? Raise your hand. Okay. Fairly unanimous. Who says the bad people? Okay, very good. The point is, I believe that when we think about money, people ask, well, Derek, isn't money, the love of money or wanting money bad? I don't think it is at all. Money is simply a tool. But here's what I will tell you. You may set goals for yourself, much like I did as a young advisor. You know, once I get to $1 million in revenue, that's going to be awesome. And then I did that, and it didn't feel as awesome as I thought it was going to be. And then I hit 2 million, and I thought, that's it. I just hit 2 million, we're rocking. Well, it didn't make me feel as rocking as I thought it would. But when I connected meaning to money, That's when the magic happened. So what I want to tell you about now, I'm going to call a timeout real quick. And we're going to talk about your generosity purpose. And let me ask you this. I'm going to get personal for a moment. What is a cause that you care deeply about? What is a wrong in the world that you want to right? What is an injustice that you see that you say to yourself, if it's up to me, I want to make a change? Does anybody have a cause like that that you're passionate about? Would you be willing to share what that is?
Human trafficking.
Human trafficking. And if I might ask you, why is that important to you?
Because these young girls and kids are being taken advantage of.
They're being, and they can't, they're powerless. Yes, okay, human trafficking. What else? What would be another cause that's personal to you that you care about, that you'd be willing to share? Yes, in the back. What's that?
Financial literacy, foster children.
Yes, great. Foster children. Fantastic. I saw a hand back over here.
Trees.
What's that?
Trees.
Trees, okay. So the point of this is, I don't believe that the causes you care about in your business have to be mutually exclusive. You see, what I did in my own practice, I sold it about 4 years ago so that I could train and coach advisors on these principles, is I became known as the education supporting financial advisor. $75 a month. Going to my local high school and getting a picture taken and supporting the teacher and the student. What I will tell you is, and what I want you to do right now for just a moment is, if you had unlimited money, unlimited, what cause or concern would you want to direct that money toward? If you had unlimited, okay? And the point of this is deciding what will your generosity purpose be going forward. Now, I should have told you earlier, I did need to ask a favor of all of you, and that is, I need you to think differently to embrace this, okay? That this is not a common way of doing business. But what I will tell you is, especially younger clientele, we're finding is they're not deriving meaning from graduating from college and getting their first salary job. Money is not often the top motivation. Are we finding this to be the case? But meaning is when we can let them know, look, it's okay to go make a lot of money by adding a lot of value to your clients and by doing a lot of good with it. You see, here's my fear and what keeps me awake at night. As hard of working as advisors as you are, because we know you don't just shut off your clients. Like even while you're here, many of you are thinking about your clients. Am I right? I met a pilot the other day who told me something that was so bizarre. He said, Derek, he gets to control his stress. He only has to have stress until the plane lands. Once the plane lands, he can forget about that entire trip. All of you here never forget about your clients, right? And so the point is, as hard as you work, if we can combine meaning to money, that's powerful. So here's a quick story. When my book came out, Good Money Revolution, about 2 years ago, I was invited to be on quite a few podcasts. And one of the ladies, her name is Heather Monahan, has a popular podcast. And before the interview, she said something that caught me off guard. She said, Derek, I have a client who has a $50 million business who is totally burned out. He wants to sell and he wants to become a philanthropist and start giving money away. But she said, I read the book and I told him not to sell, but instead use his cause that he cares about as motivation to grow the business even more, hold on to the asset, make more money, and then do more good. That business is now worth $75 million. He owns it and he's using it as a tool for good. So the point of all this is, here's what's at stake. Years from now, a lot of us have goals and say, I want to get to a certain amount, and once I get to this level, then I'll volunteer, or then I'll give money away, then I'll do these things. I want to offer you today a rare and opportunity. How can you go make more money and be respected, endeared, admired in your local community, and do more good with it? That's the opportunity. So what I want to share with you as we close, first of all, think about what is a generosity purpose that you care about. And there's two ways to put this into practice. You can be private or you can be public, okay? So some of you might have been raised, as I was younger, we don't talk about what we give. That's sort of like sex and politics and other things. That's sort of the topic we don't talk about, okay? So if you want to keep it private, just know this is my internal generosity purpose, and I'm going to use this to grow my business to this level, and when I hit these certain levels, I give more money away. That's my private goal. Or what I find is, when you let the public know, that's where the magic occurs. Because think about the car commercial. If the car commercial and the car company began to give money to athletes for the Olympics, but didn't tell anybody, it's still a worthy cause, would they have had the sales increase if they hadn't told people about it? No. And what I will tell you is this, is each of you sit here right now, if we're being honest, we all want to be part of something bigger. And high net worth prospects, they want to be part of something bigger. They want to work with advisors and professionals that are making their community better. You see, we often think about the way to differentiate is, well, I need to have greater financial knowledge. And by the way, let me say this as we begin to wrap it up. What I'm not saying is, if you begin to give, your practice will skyrocket. There's a certain set of table stakes that are at stake here. I'm assuming you're calling your clients back. I'm assuming you're responding to emails. You've got a good investment process. I'm assuming that you have a structure in place. But the key is, when high net worth prospects begin to know that, hey, this advisor has a reputation of giving back to the community, they become immediately more attractive. And it doesn't take tens of thousands of dollars and being, the primary benefactor in your community to do it. Now, you may be thinking, well, Derek, how? Simple social media. On Facebook, on Instagram, we've got flexibility with that of you with the student, the teacher. Hey, one of my primary causes is giving back to support our local community. Even at our Christmas events, we would have the principals of those schools come back for our clients to see, wow, when we work, in this case with me or with other advisors, they're part of something bigger, okay? So as we wrap it up, we're all going to reach a point of possible, am I getting burned out? What's happening? But the goal is, a generosity purpose is the key to not only keeping yourself motivated, but also being a doorway to let clients be part of something bigger. So to recap, number one, we want to start small. Number two, we want to make sure that we keep an eye on the overall picture. And third, the goal is more money is not bad, okay? So that's my presentation. Thank you.